So I'm 27 years old and I've managed to save up just over $150,000. And in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I saved up my first $100,000 by the age of 25. Because the first step to becoming wealthy is by saving your money. In fact, Charlie Munger, who's the vice president of Berkshire Hathaway and who's got a net worth of $1.6 billion, once said, "I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit." This quote is so true because saving your first $100,000 is the major obstacle that you have to overcome in order to become a millionaire. But before I begin, I just want to say that this is not a brag about my wealth. I acknowledge that some people may not have the resources that I had when saving. But look, the underlying mindset still applies. Even if you don't have these privileges, you can still do it. It might just take a little longer. Also, I earned every single dollar. I wasn't given any of this money as an inheritance. So I actually got a high-paying job straight out of university. This probably sounds a lot harder than it seems, given that most university graduates only earn between $50,000 to $60,000 a year, which after taxes and student loans means you're probably only taking home about $47,000 a year. Now I know what you're thinking. I must have got some flashy job at Google or Facebook or an investment banking job at Goldman Sachs. I didn't actually get either of these jobs. In fact, I couldn't even get any job after university because I graduated with a useless psychology degree. So what job did I get that paid me so much money? Well, I actually got a job as a research assistant. And this is where I was being paid by a university professor to conduct their research. And this job paid me a lot of money. I made over $46 an hour. I was actually able to get this job because during my university degree, I networked and actually became really close with a lot of the university professors. The reason why this job actually paid so well was because it was a casual job. So I was only paid for the hours that I worked. I wouldn't get paid if I was sick, and I wouldn't get paid if I was taking a holiday. Also, most casual jobs are only about 10 to 15 hours a week. But because I was working for 3 different professors, I essentially turned a 10 to 15 hour casual job into a 45-hour full-time job. So $46 an hour times 45 hours a week basically meant I was earning over $2,000 a week, or just over $8,000 a month right after university graduation. These sorts of high-paying university jobs, they're not necessarily advertised online. You're not going to find them on websites like LinkedIn or Indeed. In fact, the only way you can get one of these jobs is by directly contacting university lecturers. And if you actually want to know more about this, just leave a comment below and I'll tell you more detail. And if you don't have a university degree, that's fine as well. There's plenty of high-paying casual jobs that are advertised online, from administration to manual labor and even customer service. Just make sure you work at least 3 of these jobs in order to take advantage of the casual rates. I also earned an additional income by tutoring a university statistics course. Turns out that this statistics course is actually quite a hard course for a lot of university students. So I was actually able to charge $50 an hour for tutoring. And because so many students were doing the course, I was actually able to tutor up to about 20 hours a week in the lead up to their exams. $50 an hour for 20 hours a week meant that I was earning around about $1,000 a week. Tutoring is great because you can decide how much you charge and also how many hours you want to work. Just bear in mind though that it's not a stable income because the work does die down during university and school holidays. So if you are considering tutoring, just make sure that you're only doing it for additional income. But even if you can't tutor university or high school subjects, just think about what skills you have that you can monetize. You can teach people how to use computers, or you can even just charge people to walk their dogs, or you can teach people how to paint. And you don't even have to spend thousands of dollars advertising your services before you make any money. Just print out an ad and put it in people's letterboxes in your neighborhood. I remember doing this when I was 17, when the only thing that I could offer was gardening work. And I remember within days of distributing letters, I was working up to 40 hours a week, mowing people's lawns and cleaning out people's gutters. But earning lots of money is only the first step to becoming wealthy. You also need to be able to save the majority of your income by living frugally and only spending money on the things that you need. And this is where people with even just modest salaries can save $100,000. Because ultimately, it's about how much you save, not about how much money you earn. In fact, Mr. Money Mustache, who is the founder of the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, says that earning less money actually makes it easier for you to save more money, because it forces you to really think about where you can cut back on expenses. Let's start with rent. And this is where I have to admit that I was actually living at home with my parents up until the age of about 25. And although I was paying them about $100 a week in board, this was only a fraction of the cost compared to if I had to live out of home and rent. Rent is one of the biggest expenses that will take a huge chunk of your savings. And if you don't have the option of living at home with your parents, consider saving money by either moving into a share house or just moving further away from the city. Because your 20s is the only time in your life where it's acceptable to save money by sleeping on someone's couch. But I also didn't eat out at restaurants. I stopped buying takeaway coffees and lunches and blowing my money on nights out. And although I have been able to save up so much money, the car that I drive is a second-hand, beat up old Ford Fiesta. And let me tell you, I am running this thing into the ground. The brakes are worn down, there's scratches all over it, Bluetooth doesn't work, all of these things, but I still drive it in order to keep my transport costs low. But saving money also involves cutting down on those small daily purchases that end up adding up and actually taking a huge chunk out of your savings. One way you can do this is by allocating a proportion of your paycheck straight into your savings account the day that you get paid. Then you're actually forced to only live on whatever money is left over. Just don't do what the vast majority of people do, which is spend all of their paycheck and then only save whatever's left over. At university, I was spending $9 a day on takeaway coffees and $20 a day on takeaway lunch. And when you add that up, that's $7,500 a year just on takeaway coffees and lunch. But I've realized that there's a cheaper way to still drink coffee. And it doesn't involve having to spend thousands of dollars on some home coffee machine. Just buy a stovetop brewer for about $40 and then buy a kilo of ground coffee for $12. But I also never bought the latest iPhone or AirPods. I don't even have an Amazon, eBay, or Netflix account. And in fact, the only phone that I had for 4.5 years was this HTC M9 phone. And I ran this phone into the ground. By the end of the 4.5 years, the battery had stopped working, the headphone jack had stopped working, and it was just really slow overall. And when I finally upgraded, I still only bought a cheap phone. I got the Samsung A70, only $600. With all this being said, it is important to remember that your 20s will be the best years of your life. So whilst it is important to save money, you still want to enjoy life. And one way you can do this is by allocating a proportion of your savings to a travel fund. I did this and I was able to travel to Nepal, India, Tibet, Sri Lanka, Thailand 4 times, and most recently Bali. And when you think about it, when you turn 60, are you going to be thinking about all of these amazing places that you've been to, or the $5 cappuccino that you bought every day at Starbucks? And the great thing about traveling is not only does it allow you to see new countries and experience new cultures, but it also allows you to try new things. Maybe you want to try new food, or you can even try a new sport. And whilst saving your money is the second key step to becoming rich, the final thing that you must do is make your savings work for you. And this is where I took advantage of high interest savings accounts by getting bonus rates as a new customer. You simply just set up a new savings account, and when the introductory rate expires, you then just transfer your savings into another high interest account. All you have to do is just Google high interest savings accounts and find the bank with the best rate. Everyone needs to do this for whatever money that they're not investing. It's literally free money. And last month I earned over $320 in interest alone. But I should say that holding cash is an extremely poor investment strategy. Personally, I am holding cash at the moment because I do plan to use that money on a house down payment within the next 12 to 18 months. But that's a separate video. So that's it for me, guys. Check out my other videos on this channel for more great tips on saving and investing.